Legendary accounts usually begin here, pushing through thick battlefield smoke to find a genius general commanding a chaotic cavalry charge. But if you look closely at his eyes, you see the human subject behind the legend. He conquered millions to outrun the feeling that he was never enough. Born in Corsica in 1769, he entered a world of deep uncertainty. He grew up as an outsider, a boy who lacked a sense of belonging or true power in French society. At military school, his peers relentlessly mocked and isolated him for his background. This constant dismissal made a brilliant child feel incredibly small. That level of early rejection leaves a permanent mark on a developing mind. For Napoleon, the pain of being insignificant became the fuel for his future. He made a silent, defining vow: "I will never feel this way again." This turning point transformed his ambition into a mechanism for emotional survival. To understand his ambition, look at the validation loop: external achievements attempting to silence internal wounds. Triumphs in Italy and Austria were emotional shields, a fleeting burst of validation making him feel untouchable. But the relief faded quickly. Because external achievements cannot satisfy internal insecurity, he was trapped. He needed another victory, then another, just to maintain his fragile sense of self-worth. His empire grew as a restless, repetitive reaction to an internal void, expanding further and further in a failed attempt to find lasting relief. This need for control reached its peak inside this cavernous cathedral during his coronation as emperor. He harbored a deep distrust of external authority, a paranoia rooted in the isolation he experienced as a schoolboy. He couldn't rely on anyone else to validate his worth. He refused to let the church or God bestow his title. Instead, he took the crown with his own hands, ensuring he was the sole source of his own power. He was compelled to build and control something massive on the outside because he still felt remarkably small on the inside. By becoming the author of his own authority, he guaranteed that no one else held the power to invalidate him. He had finally manufactured the safety he lacked. Eventually, the validation loop scaled to a point of total unsustainability, leading to the invasion of Russia. His survival depended on continuous victory, creating a dangerous psychological blind spot: the absolute belief in his own invincibility. That arrogance crashed into a harsh reality that didn't care about his self-image. The brutal winter and vast distances of Russia refused to negotiate or surrender to his ego. When the elements decimated his forces, he lost more than a war. He lost the carefully constructed illusion that protected his mind. His final years were defined by silence and irrelevance on a barren, isolated island. This physical banishment stripped away the external power he had spent his life building. Without a throne or an army, he had no defense against the internal pain he had been running from. The loop was broken. Once the victories stopped, the temporary relief they provided vanished, and the feeling of being enough disappeared with them. Rendered irrelevant, he was finally forced to sit in the silence and face the deep-seated insecurities he had tried to conquer with an empire. This historical struggle mirrors how we pursue success today. We often look for external proof to solve an internal problem. We build our own precarious empires out of digital achievement icons, late-night hustle culture, and the obsessive need for validation through a screen. Ask yourself if your own pursuit of success is for genuine growth, or if it's just an attempt to fix your self-worth. If you use achievements to try and cure insecurity, you will never arrive. You will only remain trapped in a restless cycle, forever expanding an empire with no end.